Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today to talk through supporting your aspiring athlete. Today I'm going to firstly provide a little reminder of why our kids play sport, and we'll look at some of the participation rates before delving into pressure in kids. We're going to look at some of the signs of stress and burnout, and then I'll spend a little bit more time unpacking the role of parents, teachers and coaches in managing pressure, and we'll also look at strategies for preventing burnout. So I just want to highlight that this is a very high level presentation. I could literally go on for hours and hours about this topic. So what I'll aim to do in the next half hour is cover the big rocks and hopefully prompt some interest in and you can go away and do some more research or follow up on anything that I've presented. So another thing to note, I've pitched this at the sub-elite level. So aside from the title of the slide and the presentation, I will be referring to our young people as kids or young people, because being an athlete is so much more, an athlete is just one piece of the pie that makes up their identity, and it should never be the whole pie. There's so much more to them than just being an athlete. And if you've ever seen Wayne Goldsmith speak, he famously quoted, "There's no such thing as an elite 8-year-old, a high performance 10-year-old or a professional 11-year-old. So let's let them be kids for a little bit longer. So why do kids play sport? When asked, kids identify a range of different reasons why they like to play. The main ones being health and fitness reasons. Another one being the social aspect. So they love playing with their friends. They love playing in that team environment. Some kids, and you might have one, love the competition. They just love to compete, and that came out quite highly. Others say they just love it. They get into it because they just love the sport so much. And the number one, if I ask you all to say it to your screen, even though you're all on mute, the top reason why you think kids play sport, and it's probably why we play sport as adults and continue to play, is fun. Fun continuously comes up as the number one reason why kids play, but also the number one reason why they stop playing, because the fun starts to leach out of it. So this graph is from data obtained from the AusPlay on the ASC website, and right at the end, Christian will drop all of these resources into the chat so that you can follow up if you'd like to. So this graph presents the participation in organised sports in Australia. So down the bottom, we've got the age range. As you can see, 5 to 8, 9 to 11, 12-ish, it's holding pretty steady. And then after that 12 to 14 age range, it starts to significantly drop off. Now, there's any number of reasons why participation starts to drop. You know, organised sport can be really expensive to participate in. There could be schoolwork that takes priority, or kids might start working. But what else happens around that age? Generally around that 12 to 14 age is when the rep sport starts to ramp up, and the time commitment and the demands and the pressure, all of those things start to increase. And some of these reasons over here that we highlighted that were so important for them, the fun aspect, they love it playing with friends. Well, unless their friends are at that same level, they might be put in different teams, or their friends might not make that team. So, and we start to see this drop off here. So understanding some of that pressure, I've heard people say, oh, what does a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old or 12-year-old possibly have to feel stressed or pressure about? And there are lots of sources of pressure for our kids. The performance expectations is one. So this might be things that they put on themselves. I scored 4 tries in this game, and I want to keep making sure that I score 4 tries. And if they don't, they can lose a little bit of that confidence. Sometimes, whether we intended or not, the pressure and the expectation can come from us. So we might be giving them a little reminder, remember, you need to do this for this game, or don't forget to do this, or the coach giving the pep talk, I need everyone to give 100%, or whatever that might be. can just put that pressure on their shoulders. Comparing themselves to others. I'm not as fast as that person. I've got a 9-year-old who has just entered the world of representative basketball. And every night for a few months, she would go to bed wishing and hoping that she would wake up about 6 inches taller the next day. In competition with others. So in team sports, it could be vying for the same position within that team. In individual sports, they might only take the top 1 or 2 in track and field or whatever that individual sport is to take it to that next level. So constantly feeling like I can't just play with freedom. I can't perform with freedom. I'm constantly in competition with others, which is great for those kids that are very, very competitive, but not so much for those that aren't. Injuries are a big one. Feeling not only upset that they're missing out when they're injured, but that fear that will someone else take my place? And when I return, am I going to be at the same level as I was before? Or is this something that is going to prevent me from taking it to the next level? Social pressures. So interesting age group when we're looking at the teens and the tweens. There can be really interesting team dynamics, interesting personalities, and we've got developing brains in there as well. So there can be a lot of pressures that come from being in a team, and from some of those personalities that might be a bit stronger, and can cause putting pressure on them that I need to perform better because this person's getting into me every game. And I'm sure I don't have to tell you all in this session the pressure that social media piles on our young kids. And it's something some of us, when we were competing as young people, didn't have to deal with, but it's certainly there at the moment, this pressure to get likes, this pressure to present themselves in a particular way on social media. So all of these are something that they quite regularly have to deal with and develop tools and strategies to manage. So I'm just going to show a clip now that gives a little insight into what our kids might be thinking. The picture might be a little glitchy at your end, but hopefully the audio plays, and if not, at the end we'll put a link so you can have a little look at it yourself.
I prefer that my parents, if I play bad, don't say anything, and if I play well, it doesn't really matter if they compliment me on how I play. I just I don't know, I prefer my parents to, not talk as much.
I can hear them like cheering me on, and I'm like thinking in my head, just shut it, I'm trying to focus.
My mom yells in Spanish, like,
Go, go, go! My mom usually says, use the backboard. You should use the backboard. I get angry because it annoys me. I'm kind of embarrassed. She tells me to get in the position that my coach told me not to get in. I'm like, well, no. And then she's like, get in your position. I'm like, no.
I get a little tense when I have a certain score to get, and she's like, you gotta get that whatever score. And I'm like, ah. I don't like it when they try to push me even more, even though I'm trying really, really hard.
Coming from the coach's mouth is kind of better, I feel like, because your parents are there to support you and your coach is there to help you, you know?
You just start screaming, Valentina, run faster, make a basket. But I just start going slower every time when she says that.
The other people were like, wow, that mom is like really wanting her kid to win.
In my inside, you can't see it, but I'm inside saying, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Sometimes I just look into space.
I try to listen to them and then do what they say to so they don't start yelling again.
I don't really want them to give me that much advice because then I might forget it all.
Sometimes I get nervous.
When they yell and nobody else is yelling.
Sometimes it can embarrass me, like a lot.
Wait. What's going on?
we're just trying to do this, but you want us to try harder?
Well, I am.
I'm not going into a game not trying my hardest. That'd be like messed up.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yikes, right? And it's funny going through and watching that clip for the first time. I thought, oh, yeah, do that. Yeah, I'm probably guilty of doing that. I got one daughter who absolutely loves when we stand on the sideline and cheer, like the little one whose mother says, go, go, go in Spanish. And we've got another one who's like, no, nothing. So that just gives you a little insight into, I'm sure a lot of these parents are very well-meaning, but insight into how the kids are actually perceiving some of the comments that we make. And a little bit later, I'll talk through the impact of language and the questions that we ask on our kids. So what are some of the impacts of pressure on our kids? Now, really important to note, pressure isn't always bad. It can have some absolutely wonderful benefits if applied thoughtfully. So it can do things like enhance motivation, enhance resilience, discipline, performance. Again, if very carefully managed and done so in a very safe, psychologically safe environment, then you can have some really, really good benefits from small bits and carefully managed bits of pressure. But sustained pressure in less than ideal environments, or if we do it carelessly or don't really think it through, can create some things like this. It can create self-doubt in our young people, a fear of failure, some mood issues, whether it's performance anxiety or just feeling really upset that I'm never going to get to that next level. If we're piling on the pressure, then it might encourage them to get out there and train even more and more and overtrain, which can put them at risk of injuries. It can cause relationship issues, not just with their coach or their teacher or their teammates, but with you as well. Well-meaning, we're trying to help them and help them find some of that motivation at times, but all it can do is put a strain on that relationship. And if not picked up or managed, it can lead to burnout and ultimately the young person dropping out of sport. And I'm sure you've probably got stories, whether it was you yourself, whether it's other kids that you know of, whether it's your kids, that have shown a heck of a lot of promise. And then once they got to that 13, 14 age group, just one day went, you know what, I don't want to swim anymore. I don't actually love it, or I don't want to play footy anymore. And if we look back, we can sort of go, oh, that was actually quite surprising. But if you look back at the pattern, there were probably some very clear signs there, and it's not always what they tell us. And I'll talk through this in a sec. So what are those signs of stress? It's really important that we look at what the child or young person is trying to communicate, because we will often take them at face value. So if we say, how is everything going? And they say, good, then we'll go, oh, okay, everything's good. But sometimes we need to read between those lines and look at what they're not saying. So that mysterious headache that's only popping up on training days, or the sore ankle that presents on game day, that the doctor, you've taken them to the doctor, you've had scans, they can't find anything, perhaps that's a sign of something else. Now, it's not always, I'm not suggesting that it's always going to be a sign of stress or pressure or anxiety, but sometimes it can be. And particularly if there's a bit of a pattern and if it's unusual for your child or young person. So I've broken down some of the signs of stress into physical, emotional, and behavioural. What are the physical signs of stress? You might start to see these things. These could be the things that are a bit more overt. So they're just tired all the time. They might start to get actual injuries or coming down with illnesses all the time. You might start to see a decline in performance or a change in appetite. They might want to eat more, or some will lose their appetite. They could also suffer from sleep disturbances. So they might not be able to sleep, or they might be sleeping too much to compensate for the fatigue. And they can also start to show things like sleepwalking or sleep talking, or nightmares as well. And that indicate that perhaps we're entering a period of stress here. Emotionally, the things that can happen is you might have a kid that ordinarily is the first out the door, doesn't need to be told, grab your stuff, we're going to training. They might all of a sudden just completely lose their motivation. You might start to see mood swings. They might get a little bit cranky and irritable. Performance anxiety might start to creep in, teariness, sadness as well. And then behaviourally, they might start to withdraw from you, from their teammates, from the sport, complete loss of interest or enjoyment in that sport, don't want to watch it on TV anymore, no, just not interested whatsoever. And they might start to come up with excuses to try to avoid training. So again, some of these things don't need to be at panic stations. It's just if you start to see a few of these and you start to notice a bit of a pattern and it's unusual for your child or young person, then it might be an indication that they're starting to feel more pressure and might need to intervene at that point in time before it gets too bad. Now, burnout, oftentimes we use the term burnout interchangeably with exhaustion, but burnout is multidimensional and it's a complete mental, physical and emotional exhaustion. So that feeling tired and exhausted, stressed out, overwhelmed is one part of burnout, and it's not necessarily going to progress. And the earlier we catch it, and if we identify it there, we might catch it before it leads to burnout. So another layer when it comes to burnout is the cynicism. So I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, and now I'm starting to get cranky and disgruntled. So I might start to have a little bit of a whinge about the coach. I might start to have a whinge about my teammates or the way the organisation is run. And then on top of that, the next layer is I'm stressed out and overwhelmed. I'm having a bit of a whinge about everything. And now I stop trying. So the inefficiency piece. So all of those three things together are the ingredients for burnout. Now, like I said before, not all tiredness, exhaustion will lead to burnout. Not all pressure will lead to burnout. The earlier that we can catch it and identify it and help our young people put some strategies in place, the less likely it is that it's going to progress through to burnout. So, what is the role of parents, teachers, coaches in managing pressure? Initially, I had teased this out. So I had sort of some strategies for parents, some strategies for teacher, and then for coaches. But basically, they're one and the same. It's just done in different environments. But all of us, whether you are just parent, whether you're a parent coach, parent teacher, teacher or coach, we've all got a really, really important role in supporting our kids manage pressure. So the first thing that we can do is help promote a growth mindset. And this isn't just in our kids. It's important for us to role model this growth mindset. If anyone has done some research in this area, you'll know it's come out of research done by Qld Pathways, looking at the two mindsets, fixed versus growth, and the attributes of both. And then she's gone on and looked at then the effects on performance. So as part of her research, one thing that came out very, very clearly is the importance of praising effort and development over winning versus talent. So I want you to think about when you're talking to your young people, are you, after a game, are you saying things like, oh, well done, that was a great win? Or are you saying things like, I loved the effort that you put in there, or, hey, didn't win, but you did a PB. So it's really, really important. And I'd encourage you to go on Google Qld Pathways and look at some of the research that she's done, looking at, she's done more and more in sport, but even academic performance of kids and young people, and the issues that can start to present if we praise talent and praise winning and praise intellect over effort and development. Creating a psychologically safe environment. So a psych-safe environment is one where we feel included. We can speak up, we can try new things, we can make mistakes and take risks, And I'm sure all of you on this session have been in environments, work environments or sport environments, where it's been very psychologically safe, and you know then what follows in terms of your effort and your performance, versus environments where you don't feel included, you don't feel safe to speak up, you certainly don't feel safe to take risks, try things and make mistakes, because there's somebody there waiting in the wings to come down on you like a ton of bricks. And it really impacts on performance. And this is really important, whether we're talking about home, whether we're talking about in the classroom or in the PE class or on the footy field. We do have a really important role to play in making sure that people do feel valued, they feel included, they do feel safe to raise things, try things and make mistakes. With the environment as well, it is important that we try to think like a child, not an adult. Oftentimes we apply adult logic and adult rules to under 10 kids footy or under 10 kids basketball or whatever the sport is. Kids aren't miniature adults. Their brains, their emotions, their bodies, their decision-making abilities all function very, very differently. And so we've got to try not to continuously apply an adult lens to kids' sport, which will present issues. We need environments that are tailored to their developmental needs. Reinforcing intrinsic motivation over extrinsic rewards. Now, if you've got a child who is motivated by some extrinsic rewards, they do like a trophy, that's not necessarily, time to sound the alarm. But if you've got a child who doesn't particularly like sports, doesn't particularly want to participate, but they are purely doing it for the trophies and for the medals and all the extrinsic things, you're paying them. Hopefully nobody is paying their child when they do well, then it might be time that we hit the pause button and go back and look at intrinsically, do they have motivation to rock up to training? What does that look like? Are they there because they want to master a skill, or they just love the sport so much and they just want to see how far they can take it? So we really need to be looking at and reinforcing when they start to show some of that intrinsic motivation over, can't wait to the competition next week because I want to smash everyone and I'm going to take home that trophy. Offering emotional support without solving all their problems. Now, we're parents, we're teachers, we're coaches. We like to fix things for our young people, but it's really important that we can offer emotional support without swooping in and telling them exactly what they have to do. So help them be a bit more solution focused. So, all right, you're having a problem with this coach or a teammate. Okay, what might you say to them? How could we deal with this? How might you go about that? So you're encouraging them not to get bogged down in the problem. You're encouraging them to be solution focused, but you're also empowering them a little bit. And if need be, if you do have to step in, because sometimes things might happen, it's like, okay, yes, this is not something my child can deal with, then that's absolutely fine. But just try to offer them that support first and unpacking it with them without fixing the problem for them, because they're not learning a lot from that. Constructive feedback versus criticism. Now, this is where language becomes so critical and so crucial, and thinking about the language we use. And when we're in the car ride home or at home after a game, when we're talking to them about the missed layups or the missing the start, is there anything constructive that they can actually use from that, or is that criticism? So again, we've just got to teach, and sometimes there's a very fine line. And so that's where using that sandwich method, so the putting the negative in between the two positives can become important, so that our kids don't start to lose confidence and self-belief and start to doubt themselves. Other things, there's a big long list and I could go on and on and on. Recognizing and celebrating effort, not just results. So this goes back to the growth mindset. Your kid isn't going to get 6 tries every game. They're not going to score 15 points every game. They're not going to do a PB every game. You know it. They probably know it as well. We just need to reinforce that wow, you worked so hard and you did a PB today. You didn't come away with the win, but you did a PB. That's the important part, is not focusing on the winning aspect. It's focusing on you worked your little butt off and you came away with a personal best, and that is amazing. Teaching coping strategies for setbacks. So there are a stack of things which I won't get too much into, but things like normalizing the ups and downs, teaching them to be solution focused, teaching them process goal setting, modeling resilience. So them seeing you be resilient when you face setbacks. And a big one, avoid pointing fingers. If things don't go well, we really want to avoid that. Oh, that was the coach's fault for not putting you on, or that was your teammate's fault for not passing you the ball, or that was the umpire's calls. We really want to get away from doing that and teach them a little bit of accountability. Helping them develop self-reflection skills, very, very simply, in the car ride home or when they get home, ask them what they think they did well. That's a really, really good one. And the earlier we can start that self-reflection, the better. Fostering long-term enjoyment of the sport, emphasising fun. There's a really good paper by Amanda Visak looking at fun integration theory and children and adolescent sport participation, which I highly encourage all coaches and teachers to have a little look at. Again, there'll be the reference in the chat at the end, but it's really, really important and shows how fun is important regardless of what level. Even in professional sport, we should make sure that training, there is an element of fun in there, and it's a total myth that if athletes or young people are having fun, they're not working hard. Be on the lookout for signs of burnout and act accordingly. So like I mentioned before, look at what they're not saying rather than what they are saying, and be aware of the broader implications of the questions that you ask. So questions that we ask have hidden meaning. Now, the questions in this are adapted from a wonderful, wonderful book that I would recommend any parent of aspiring athletes or young people who play sport go out and have a little look at. It's called In the Grandstands by Joe Lukens, and it's really, really good. It has actually helped me as a parent of young people playing sport, but also as a psychologist as well, and assisting parents and teachers and coaches. So be aware that the questions you ask reveal something about your values and what is important to you. So if you ask your child or young person, did you win? That reflects an outcome value. It says that you value winning and whatever that outcome is. If you say, or if I say to you, did you beat Norths or did you beat Sam? Straight away there is the social comparison that I'm starting to facilitate there. Once I start getting down to these latter questions, were you happy with your performance? The value is more of that satisfaction in your performance. Did you enjoy it? There's the fun that I'm trying to promote. And what did you learn? The value there is that improvement and growth versus the outcome. Now, oftentimes I'll say to my child, how did you go today? A little bit too broad for a 9-year-old, because she will immediately jump to, well, she used to jump to, oh, we lost, or oh, we won. Whereas now when I try to target the, did you enjoy it? And what new skill did you come away with, or were you happy with your performance? But if there's a bit of a lapse, or if I'm in a hurry and I'll throw out there, how did you go today? She'll jump to, oh, Mum, the session was so much fun. I learned how to screen, or I learned how to do this. So it doesn't take long, but it really starts at home. And the coaches are going to have a hard time if they see the young person a couple of times a week, if at home we're also not promoting some of these values. So strategies for preventing burnout, the last part, encourage participation in multiple sports. If anybody happened to be on Bruce Abernathy's session a couple of months ago, he spoke about early specialisation and how it can lead to a decrease in physical health, enjoyment, dropout rates, all of those things. So really important at the younger level in particular, encourage participation in multiple sports if possible. We really want to be promoting adequate rest and recovery as well. And sometimes as the parent or a teacher or a coach, we might have to be the ones that step in there and go, you know what, it's not the end of the world if you spend the night off training tonight. Plan and monitor training load. Similar to the point before, for coaches, have a look at your athletes. If they're looking absolutely fried in the session, then maybe you have a lower intensity. Maintaining a well-rounded life outside of sport. So we really want to be promoting not just other sports, but other interests, learning an instrument, speech and drama, art, learning a language, doesn't matter what it is. But again, like I said at the start, we want to be promoting other parts of their identity, not just that athletic one. And having regular check-ins to help identify early warning signs. And if you have set up the environment well, then when you do have those check-ins, you're more likely to get an honest answer from the young person. So to wrap up, big reason kids play sport is fun. As they start to get older though, the pressures can and do increase, and they come from multiple sources. And as parents, teachers, coaches, we play such a critical role in supporting them and those sporting aspirations by understanding the sources of pressure and almost trying to protect them a little bit. But obviously we can't protect them from everything, but recognising stress and burnout, but then more importantly, not just solving it for them, helping them come up with and deploying those supportive strategies. So just to finish off, we're just going to have some final thoughts from the kids.
They don't need to always be telling me what to do every minute of the game. They kind of just got to let me play.
I love when you say it really nice. I got it, Mom.
I'd like to look back and I'd like to see you smile or give me a thumbs up.
Mom, I wish you would be a little bit quieter. Say you play good and you couldn't get them next time.
When they smile and say good job.
Mom and Dad, thank you for loving me.
I love being my supporter.
When I'm upset, my mom and dad cheer me up.
Sometimes I forget about all the work that they do for me.
Be my biggest fan.
We need a lot of love. I want you to know
I need big hugs.
I love the snacks you bring me. It makes me happy when you always encourage me.
Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Please just be my mom and dad. Yep, that's it.
And I love to watch you play. What a great sentiment to give your kids in the car ride on the way home from their competition or their games. And those clips is from ilovetowatchyplay.com, which is on the screen there, and showing with permission. So if you want to rewatch it, if it was a little bit glitchy at your end, jump on over to their website and have a look, or Christian will drop the resources into the chat. And a lot of the things that I did mention there as well will be in the chat. So if you do want to do further research or look up any of the papers or anything like that, then I'd encourage you to do so. And that is the presentation.